Christine, remember when you were a kid and you thought that your career was going to be this like perfect straight line trajectory?
Oh my, yes. That is not at all what happened. It ended up being way more of a squiggle than I could have ever imagined. And I am so happy that I embraced all of the squiggles along the way.
Welcome back, everyone, to Embrace the Squiggle, the podcast for anyone whose life or career looks nothing like a straight line. And honestly, it's where all the good stuff happens. We are Colleen,
And Christine.
and this is episode 79 with Anya Cheng. Let's get into it. Hi, Anya. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello. This is Anya from Silicon Valley. I am now running an AI company called Taelor. We use Taelor to help busy men look good without shopping for clothes. And turn out that a lot of our customers are also women because they are tired of styling their significant ones. And we also help to address a problem that 30% of clothes go directly from factory to landfill, resulting in one of biggest polluted source for the world. And before starting the company, I have 15 years in big tech companies before, most recent at Meta, where I helped build out Facebook, Instagram shopping, had a product at eBay, help them to build new business in the US, new market in Latin America, Africa, Asia. As a senior director at McDonald's, help them to build out food delivery business. Uber Eats just started and help Target to build a tech office here in Silicon Valley. I'm excited to share more.
We're excited to have you. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. So we always start by how we know each other. And I will say, Anya, we connected somewhere on LinkedIn. I think somebody you know knew somebody who I knew. And all of a sudden we were connected in that kind of fun world of, second, third level connections.
Yeah, and I think so. We are both involving girls in tech. I was named one of 40 under 40, and then you guys also involved in the areas and also woman community.
Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us today. So we always love to start off with, what did little Anya think she was going to be when she grew up, right? When you were a kid, what were you thinking you were going to be?
I actually, my mom said I'm the weird kids. Back in Taiwan, where I growing up, I'm always the kid who asks questions in the class. I know it sounds normal in the US. No, it wasn't normal at all back in Taiwan. We were not supposed to ask anything. We're not supposed to raise our hands. We're supposed to sit there and listen quietly. But I was always the troublemaker in the class, and I asked a lot of questions. I disagree with the teachers, and but luckily back in Taiwan at that time, like also the scoring is also everything. So I always like number one or two ranking in terms of the scoring in the class. So I wasn't too much of a troublemaker. I remember that my mom said, I don't remember, but my mom said that I really have point of view. I will go to the library and read those student paper, and I'll point out the summer camp that I want to participate. Again, it sounds probably very normal in the US because all of the adults ask the kids, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? But it's very weird back in Taiwan because in the Asian culture, it's more of, I decided best for you. You don't know a thing. And so I was the one that would point out, say, I want you to go to the summer camp to be a reporter. And turned out that I did. And after college, my first job was a reporter. I was the investigation news reporter for the largest newspaper back in Taiwan. So I like cover story like corrupted mayor, human traffickings, and I went to Vietnam as an undercover with undercover cops. And so it's just very crazy. Now looking back, I was very lucky that I didn't die at the time. So
It
Wow.
sounds to me like you have an adventurous side to you.
and I think that it was very fortunate because for someone who is 20 years old, which job can get you to talk to anyone you want to? Nobel Prize winner, the city mayors, the CEO of a company, the head of a mafia. It was a job that really trained me to be not afraid of unknown. And that's why people ask me it's totally irrelevant, right? You waste a couple of years of your life. I say, no, actually, I think so. Being a reporter helped me to be not afraid of unknown, and the courage was the same thing as now being an entrepreneur. Like tomorrow, I don't know what's going to be produced, like what's going to happen, the tax or the policy change or the consumer trend differently. But that's kind of one skill set that I always find it useful in my career.
I love it. So when you went off to college, like, did you plan on being a reporter, right? Was that what you studied in school? Or
Yeah, I mean, I always want to be a reporter, at least in the college time.
Mhm.
But I wasn't able to get into the journalism school because that school I got in was very, very good back in Taiwan. And then the major was a lot more higher in terms of scoring. And back in Taiwan, it's about at that time
Right.
it was more of you have to rank based on the popularity of the major. And I wasn't ranked high enough because my English was really bad, which was still true after I've been in the US for almost 10 years. I remember someone look at me and say, "Hi, Anya, are you seeing someone?" And I turn around and see I didn't see anyone in the room. Do you see a ghost? My English was really bad. I didn't know what it mean. I don't see anyone. So, but
That's slang. You know what? I have to give you the benefit of the doubt, Anya. That's a slang statement. Unless you're, yeah, and I'm sure there's lots of people that wouldn't understand what that question means.
he never
Correct.
called me again. I wasn't mean to, but he never called me again. He probably thought I was trying to shut him down. But yeah, but it turned out that my major was Korean. Uh, so I do try that in the Korean restaurants. And last week I tried that. I speak perfect Korean in the restaurant for that one sentence only. Like, can I order blah blah blah? And then it was so good. The waitress responds to me in Korean, which I totally didn't understand. But anyhow, I spent a lot of summers in interning to be a reporter. I think because I actually tried like 3 summer to transferring to a different department, but I wasn't able to get in because my English was really bad. And somehow, because I keep failing in that like transition to a major, switch major, as a result, that I got so many internships opportunities because I was thinking that I cannot be majoring this, so I have to get a lot of interns. So I have like 6 intern before I graduate. And turn out when I graduated, I got
Love
into
it.
the largest newspaper back in Taiwan as a reporter covering City Hall news. So I guess failure isn't always a bad thing. And because I wasn't succeed at the time, that's why I end up have plenty of job experience before I graduate.
There's
That's
power in internships.
Oh,
Lots of
yeah.
power and experience, and it doesn't
And
matter how long it takes you to finish your degree.
and right, doing all that networking and all of that asking
Yes.
and pitching yourself to people, right? Those are all skills that you're still using to this day.
Yeah. So when I graduated from Northwestern University, I end up after being a reporter for a few years. I worked for a PR agency, advertising agency, and then I applied for Northwestern University to have a master's degree in marketing. And I got in. And so when I graduated, it turned out to be 2008 when Lehman Brothers just went bankruptcy. So there was no job anywhere. And
Yes.
I didn't get any campus recruiting opportunity because my background was a lot of reporting experience. While at that time, the popular marketing job would be like working for P&Gs or Unilevers as a brand manager. So I wasn't as fancy resume as my classmates. So then I will wait outside the building of other departments recruiting events. As soon as a recruiter came out of the building, I will send them my resume and say, "Hi, I'm a student from another department. This is my resume." So I looking back, it's pretty crazy, and I actually didn't because of that get job. But I think the reason that I didn't give up was that I was using something that I know well, which at that time was the reporter experience. So I don't know how to networking, but I know how to wait for people outside and give them my resume, just like all time I give them my microphone, right? So the same thing. And in the experience too, like for example, I want to go to conference to network, but conference ticket was very expensive. So I will call the magazine back in Taiwan and say, "Hey, this is amazing conference here in that. Do you want me to cover a story for free?" And then I'll call the conference, say, "Hey, I'm a media company. Can you give me a press ticket so I can get in for free?" And I was able to do so. Turned out that
Brilliant.
I
So
love this.
resourceful. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I bought a whole bunch of a newspaper. You know, in the New York, there's newsstand on the street, and there's plenty of newspaper. At that time, I thought the most relevant job for me will be doing marketing for a media company, which was really a dumb idea because when was the time you see CNN advertising for CNN, right? So it was a really dumb idea. But I thought that I have a marketing degree. I was working for a newspaper before, so doing marketing for a media company should be the right fit. So then I will buy all the newspaper from newsstand, and the newspaper comes with a publisher name. If you want advertise, call this number, right? So then I will call all of them, and I end up meeting with New York Times CEO, CNN's VP, all of the big media companies executive. But I didn't get any job. But I learned a lot through those 2 months of information interviewing people. So then I went back to Chicago, where Northwestern University was based. I was ready to go home, but right before I go home, I thought, hey, I learned a lot from those information interview. So I went to pitch to a farmer's magazine. So I say, hey, I learned a lot from your competitors, and I went to interview your reader because you know who are the salon owner and farmer is a trade publication. So I went to salons and I interviewed those salon owner who are their reader. I opened a magazine. They show who are their advertisers. I interview their advertisers. And then I put together a business plan based on what I learned from those 2 months of information interview. I say, if you want to do marketing, this is how CNN does, how New York Times does. And I know someone who know a little bit marketing and know a little bit about media and not very expensive. Was me. And she asked me if you want to be a contractor. My English was really bad. I didn't know what that meant. I said yes. I went home. I Googled contractor. I didn't know why she wanted me to be a plumber, but contractor. I became a contractor. First job in the US.
Love it. Oh my gosh. So
Oh my God, the
what
hustle that you've had, Anya. Like,
don't even know what questions to ask.
To this crazy woman, right?
no, I mean,
No.
just such a hustle and a powerhouse, and that desire to just go after what you want.
Yeah.
Right? Is that's the type of thing that you can't teach, right? You can't teach someone to have that sort of fire and passion.
I think some people do ask me like, I was so crazy and trying to get a job because you really want to work in the US. The answer was actually no. I didn't was act desperate or really have to stay. I was more of feel like if I don't try my best, then I might wonder one day, like, what if I did this? Maybe I get a job. And I didn't want to live with them wonder or regret. So I feel like I'm going to try my best. If I failed, great. I wasn't good enough. Then so be it. But if I didn't try, then I will always have a doubt that maybe there's chance if I ask for that thing, if I put it together business plan, if I go promote myself, maybe there's something. So I didn't want to live with the potential regret.
And you know what I love is that you didn't let communication hold you back, because you've mentioned your level of the command of the English language a handful of times in our conversation, and I love that you didn't let that stand in your way.
I think so was definitely not easy, but for example, I tried my best to use resources. At the time, there was no ChatGPT. So, but the
Yeah.
school do have a library, and the library, they have volunteers who help people with assets. So then I found 3 places. I found there's Northwestern School Library. I found there's a career center of my department, which is a marketing department. And I also found that there is a volunteer the career center of the school. So there are 3 places people can add my resume and cover letter for me. So then I will go Monday, Tuesday, Friday. So then 3 times a week. So then I can keep editing every single emails with the hiring managers.
Love
And then
it.
also out of a school, the library is still open for students, but not alumni. So then I will ask my friend who was a PhD student that I graduated, but the PhD student still there. So then I will ask him to make appointments, and I will go every day as a Miss Wang. So for to editing whatever I happen in the company for almost 2 years. And that's how I survive, because every day after after the work, I will drive back to the school and I have the editing whatever the marketing plan that I have with the company. And they didn't know, because a lot of students also have like interns and company projects. And that's how I survive.
So much proactivity. And before we continue on and talk about your next chapter and where you pivoted to, I would love for you to share, based on that chapter of your life and your career, what is a piece of wisdom or experience that you would like to share with our listeners?
I think one thing very important is people looking back, I didn't know why I didn't give up. But I realized one thing was that every time when there's challenges, I thought about what I am good at, which is very different from other people. Like waiting outside of a building of a recruiter came out and sent in my resume. That's very crazy for most people. But that's very easy for a formal reporter. Right? Going to a conference and covering a story, that's very crazy for most people, but it's again very easy for a reporter. Or for example, like in order to practice interviews and practice my English, and I didn't want to teach other people Chinese Mandarin. So then I will volunteer in a senior care center near to the school so that I talk to the elderly of 33 years old woman. And for me, it was more of giving back. It's not too hard just to spend your time and talk to the American woman, but in return, I actually practice my English. So I think so when I face the challenges, now looking back, the reason I didn't give up was because I was using something I know, something I'm good at. So when I'm using something I'm good at, I feel that there's one more chance I can try again. Oh, I know how to write a story. Let me try again. But that's the try again allow me to keep learning and keep finding connections. And eventually those learning and connection going to direct me to the area that's right. And eventually like it's like chicken inside the egg. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Eventually maybe 45th time it crack. But would you say it's really about the 45th time? No, it probably has been cracking since day 1 and every day a little bit, right? So you just don't know when eventually you will get your head out of the egg. But every time when you were seeing the challenges, think about your strengths.
Love it. Trusting the process too. And I love that you just highlighted that piece around it might feel like it took you 45 times. However, you started making progress the first time you stepped outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And the same thing for like my own startup now, right? So it's definitely not easy to be a startup founder. And people constantly ask me like, oh, you work for Meta, eBay, and Target, McDonald's, or well-known brands. And what does it like being a startup? Like, why would you do the startup? I think on the one hand is that I do happen to have the idea. I was working for big tech company as a woman. I was most of time I was a few female leader for the area or department. So I felt a little bit imposter syndrome. And even though I've been working a lot of experience, but as you guys know, like there's a big tech company is full of Ivy League graduates and full of really people who have 10, 12 years of experience. They are very, very smart. So I feel that I wasn't sure if people will really think that I'm a capable leader, but I feel like at least I want to look like capable leader. So I start using some subscription boxes so I can look great, at least outfit wise. But most of subscription boxes like Stitch Fix, you have to buy from every single shipment. And I didn't want to own that much stuff. So I tried some rental company like Newly, Armour, rental runways, and I didn't want to own that much stuff. So I tried some. There was a moment that I realized most fashion companies seems to are for people who are into fashion, not for people like me who just want to get ready for the day and be successful. And so then turned out that I started a startup. So also a lot of transitions on being a startup founder because now you don't have a name tag anymore. Like you used to have a Meta, people want to talk to you, but being a startup founder, people don't want to talk to you. People want to talk to the IPO founders. So it's also a lot of different transition and changing on the mindset and very, very different challenge and struggle. But it has been also fun too, because now I see the world very differently. Like when I was working for big tech company, I never see the community people. Like Amazon packages arrive there, the garbage van get cleans. It was all supposed to be. But being a startup founder, now I know that there's people coming, there's a driver coming, there's someone packing the package before, there is someone building the software, the AI to pick something. Like the perfect package arrive there on time is actually taking 10, 20 people behind the thing. And I start even more appreciate my life, and that was something that I never seen before being a startup founder.
Was there a moment, Anya, that you were like, okay, I'm ready? Because I know, as somebody who runs my own business and Christine too, right? We get asked all the time by folks, right? When did you know? Like, when did you know you were ready to take the leap? And my answer has always been like, I don't think I did. I think right? There was just a moment that I knew I couldn't keep doing what I was doing and I jumped. And so I wonder, like, for yourself, right? Was there a moment that you're like, okay, I am ready? Like, I have this great idea. So was it like, I have a great idea, I'm going to go execute on this? Or was it I'm ready to go be a founder and start my own company? Okay, now I figured out my idea.
No, I think for me it definitely happened for people who either way. And I see a lot of founder were like, I want to be a founder. Let me look at for research for topic. It wasn't me. I do have that idea since was at eBay and Meta and for a couple years. And but you are right that when people in one podcast, someone asked me like, "Tell me the time that you decide to be a founder." I was like, "I don't know. Like, I don't think there was one day where like one day you guys decide to start a business together, but it was many touch points eventually
Right.
get there." So, for example, like the touch point include when I was at eBay, I was head of product, and I tend to be the only female head of product. I remember when I went to the head of product summit globally, I was the only woman there, and then they even forgot that I was there, and then some guy were actually talking about, oh, I think we should do this, and let's maybe assign that woman. Oh, the other person said no, we shouldn't assign her to her because she was pregnant, and I was like, do you know that I'm here? It wasn't something appropriate to say. Or
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that I was I had a leader who really, really kind, but then he would invite another woman who is nothing to do with that executive summit and to go to the executive summit because he was afraid that I feel that I'm the only woman there. But then it make it even more weird because now like why she's there. Oh, she's just there to be with Anya because then she won't feel like she was the only woman. So it was even more weird. But I think it was all of those time on having the idea of wanting to look good, and I realized there's no good tools out there to help people who just want to get ready for the day. I don't like shopping. I don't like fashion. I hate laundry. But I didn't want to look good. I want to look good because I want to make sure I get the job done. I want to look good for the date night, for the getting a job, getting a day close a deal. And while also AI is the era of AI, when in order to do this business, it comes with a styling service. We style busy men. But for styling service without AI will not be able to scale with have to hire plenty of human stylists. Or for example, and actually after Meta, I got laid off during COVID. But it doesn't mean that I have to be a startup founder because for sure I can go back to another big tech company. It might take me 3 months, but for sure I can find another job with my 15 years of experience on the belt. Right? Or for example, my co-founder at that time and at that time was still working for our company. Her name's Phoebe. She worked for a pre-IPO company, and her background was about operation and finance, which is something that I'm not familiar with. My background was more of a marketer. I did data scientist. I as a head of product leading technology team. So we kind of had complement background, but then both of us went to University of Chicago for our MBA more than 10 years ago. So we also have some common language and also common friends who end up being our investors. So I think this was a lot of these moments. And I would say the last moment was that someone asked me to go to a TechCrunch event to give a talk as a corporate person to teach founders how to work with big tech company. And it was a moment that I realized, oh my God, these founders were full with passions. They are so different from my corporate people who were just want to get their job done and playing politics. So I was very inspired of meeting with those founders. But I don't think there's one touch point, was like many, many touch point, and eventually we started.
Jump in here. I would love for you to share, because I know that women in tech would love to hear a little bit more about your experience and any wisdom that you can share in terms of your learnings, how women can navigate the world of tech. Because I think a lot of women are up against roadblocks being at the table. And so I would love to hear from your perspective, being in senior leadership, what advice or guidance you would give women who are wanting to, I hate the term, but I'll use it, climb the corporate ladder, navigate, grow, lead teams. What would you share from your experience in tech?
Yeah, I think the first thing will be forget about yourself. I mean, people, if you are someone, I used to be the marketing girl who will go whenever time go to the executive table, then I will like, yeah, we should definitely do marketing. Yeah, we should get more budget. Then we can definitely get more customers. Yeah, we should do more innovations and brandings. I was in for me. I want to promote my team, promote my department, promote my power. But then you are not going to get invited because you are not thinking of the company, right? So if you come in and you always forget about yourself, which I just genuinely here trying to solve a problem for you. Okay, we have a problem for meta of a brand issue problem. People thinks we have people's data. We are companies who not doing very well in securities, etc. How do we solve the problem? When you are genuinely solving the problem, but I was a marketing girl, so the solution that I come up will naturally be relevant to marketing because that's what I'm really, really good at, right? So then when you are solving the problem, people want to invite you to a table. But if you are more of, I am a marketer or I'm a head of product, we should build these new apps, then you're going to be the second person after they have decide, okay, I think we're going to decide with this solution, and this solution involve building an app. Okay, let's call the app person who is Anya. You'll never be in our executive table because they already decide and then they find you. So I would say first thing is to think for the company, for the problems, not about yourself. Then you will get invited because most of the time it's hard to get the solution. It's easy to execute the solution. Is the hardest part and the most important part and the most valuable part is that they have a problem and they don't know the solution yet. And
So how did you influence at the table? I love this piece of wisdom of yours. Because go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's just you have to really think about what problem are we trying to solve, and then not trying to push in your team. For example, at eBay, at that time, we really think AI is cool, even though there wasn't even an era of Gen AI. So our team thinks that, hey, we should build something that you snap a picture of your chair, you write off a description for you, so you can post the product right away. You save plenty of time. And the best part, we're using AI. So we launch a feature, but people don't use it much. Because we turn out, we realize most of people who are selling really care about getting a great price of a product, which means they don't mind spending time, make sure the description is perfect. So they actually very into writing something, they don't want to use the feature. Or my colleague at Target at the time, they realized that mom tend to forget one thing in the store. Like you went to a store and you came home, you realize, oh, I forgot the milk. So the things would be great to launch an in-store GPS feature. You can write down your shopping list. You go to the store, then it becomes GPS. You turn right, turn left. so that you can never forget one thing. And best part, you also really use the technology of like beacon. At that time was very popular, like beacon technology, omni-channel, and potentially maybe AR, VR, because you can snap a picture of the product in the store. You will show AR, VR. So cool. Turn out no one used it. Moms go to Target store to get lost. That's why they are there. They are wandering around. They always need to get away the noise where, right? So they don't need that. So I think that if you are not coming, don't come in with an agenda. Really deeply see what's the problem are you solving. Like for example, people ask me, Taylor, the AI company that for menswear business, it's the same as women's rental business, like newly by Urban Outfitter, right? Because it's only one word different. You guys are for men, they are for women. You have AI, they don't have AI. That's it. No, fundamentally, women rent clothes because we want to wear different things every day. Men rent clothes because they don't want to think about what to wear. They don't want to get a commitment of the clothes. So then by having AI style them, having human stylists to finalize for them, having rental means they don't have to think at all. They receive the clothes, they wear for a couple of days. If it's great, if they wear for weeks, then they can buy it or they can return, but they don't have to think. So fundamentally, the problem we are solving is very different. That's why user experience is different. That's why how we monetize is different. Guy buy the clothes because they are saving time. Women don't buy the clothes because they want to wear different things every day. So I would say back to really deeply think about what's the problem you are solving and can you really solve the problem and forget about your agenda. But eventually, trust me, you know you will start data science or marketing or product or what. So for sure, you are going to use what you are good at, and eventually you're going to promote your job and your team.
Love it.
I love that. And it's the
Mic
question
drop.
I know, right. Well, say that whole question about like what problem do you want to solve? It's what I tell
Yes.
folks when they're trying to figure out what career they want. Right. It's the
Yes.
question I talked to when my girls were in high school and were deciding what they wanted to study in college. I'm like, what problems do you want to solve in the world as opposed to what do you want to do? Right. Because if you can think about the problems you want to solve, then you can figure out where's the right place to do that. Right. Where am I going to find the place that makes the most sense for me?
And then just to add on to that, and this is for in terms of career changers, pivoters, swigglers, all of the above. It's now going out to market and looking for the companies that have that business problem right now in this moment that you have the skills and experience to solve. It's so simple.
Yeah.
People make job search and getting promoted and growth so freaking complicated. And so I love that you have just reconfirmed all that Colleen and I are constantly preaching on planet Earth, in that it really is about like, what are the skills and experience? What are your strengths that you have in your toolbox? And how can you leverage those to solve business problems? Because no business, whether AI takes over or not, who knows? AI might disappear tomorrow. We don't know. Every company is going to continually have business problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think so it's important to think about the problem you're solving. And then people also told me that if you can explain the problem you're solving very well, people can envision the solution. So be a startup founder,
Yes.
we are pitching all the time, right? And people, lots of time when they were trying to focus on, I have this amazing app, blah, blah, blah. But in fact, what I have learned was that it's actually really important on explain the problem. For example, one founder said, I last time when I'm modeling my house, I had to go to 5 different stores to buy different material. And I also have to buy those tools that I only use once, which will never use it again in my life. By this time, I didn't say what I'm selling, but you already can imagine, oh, it's a one-stop shop. You can buy all of the material and you can rent the tools, right? Because then I explain my problem as well. So just deeply understand the problem, the solution is right there.
That is so brilliant. I don't even know what to say after that. I love this, Anya. This is so applicable in everything, right?
Yeah,
Whether you're
it
working
really
for a
is.
company, whether you're a founder, but that whole figuring out the problem and being able to explain it. Because just like your example there, right? When you were saying that, I instantly was like, oh yeah, right? The ability to rent that tool that I'm only going to use once, right? I'm only going to tile my bathroom floor once ever, because once I do it, I realize really quickly that I'm going to pay someone to do it in the future, and we'll never ever use that tool ever again, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah, so true. It is so true. What a beautiful conversation. Anya, you're full of wisdom. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
really love I love your words of wisdom. I really hope that all of my current clients right now on my roster are going to listen. I'm going to make them all listen to this.
Gonna be a homework assignment this week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They usually are allowed to choose their own homework items, but when this episode drops, I'll be choosing.
One more thing is you asked me
Yeah.
about but I want to share one story. It's my own story, just last 2 years, and I
Yeah.
found it was very, very helpful. I failed. It was a story about how I failed and what I learned. And so I being a startup founder, yes, I had 15 years career, but being a startup founder suddenly seems nothing matters. You are just a new startup founder who have nothing. And then it's also very weird that being a startup founder, everyone suddenly become your coach. Everyone want to tell you how to run a business. Oh, you're startup founder, let me teach you. I'm a mentor, let me mentor you. Suddenly everyone were so into my business and want to tell me something. So naturally, I start realize I know nothing. And so then one day I went on startup competitions. And so I noticed I know nothing. The best way to compete is practice. So I found 42 formal judges and I practiced with every one of them. So when I went on the startup competition, my pitch was perfect. But after the pitch, the judge man asked me a question. I stunned. I couldn't answer at all. Wasn't because I didn't know the answer. I knew the answer perfectly. But in my head, I wasn't trying to answer. I wasn't in the moment. I was trying to think, oh, these questions. And practice judge in 37 asked me the same question. And I answered. And then he told me the better answer would be, and I put in appendix number 26. I wasn't trying to answer. I was more like the student who have an open book exam. I knew the answer, but as soon as it's an open book exam, I start wasting over my time, look at the book, and dun, time's up. I still didn't write down my answer because I waste all my time in finding the answer, the perfect answer from the textbook. The same thing, I didn't try to answer. So of course I failed in the competition. I lost $100,000 award because it was a winner for the prize for the winner. And I went home, I watched the replay. I totally knew the answer. I knew it perfectly. It was a moment that I realized I lost because I didn't trust in myself that could answer the question.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of what other people would say. And it happens still every day. My husband is a chef. He has been chef for more than 10 years. Before that, he worked for a big company running operation. He said yesterday when people asked him about, okay, why don't you make a meal for our chef? And his first instinct was go check the recipe. In fact, he know the recipe in his head perfectly, but he didn't know. He still went and checked, and he realized he was more of he didn't trust himself versus not capable. So I would say try that out. And my coach told me that stop saying that I should do ABC, because every day we have the I should do, which is putting blame on yourself and putting the pressure on yourself. And the more you say I should do, you won't do it because you hate it. But you should start saying that I would like to. I would like to.
Or I get to.
I get to.
That's
yeah.
one. I've offered that one up to clients. I get to do this. Or the shoulding. Oh my gosh, that word needs to be removed from the English language. I love that story. And like every week, our guests have a moment in our podcast of saying something that I absolutely needed to hear. And Anya, trust yourself, who was exactly what I needed. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Oh my
and
goodness.
and we all don't amplify for others, right? So find some other people who can talk about you. And so the
Love it.
whole thing will be next time when you go on the talk or when you gonna go on conference, asking the host to introduce you, and so then you have there's other people talking about you versus you,
Yeah.
and hosting the events. And when you hosting event, if you and find people who are not very you're not very familiar with to hang out, and that research shows women like to hang out with people who they are very familiar with, while guy tend to hang out with people who are more loose tie. But the inside usually come out with those loose tie because for people who are very
Yes.
familiar with you hang out, you talk about your cats and dogs and versus some interesting information. I'm not asking you to spend all of your weekend on networking, but once in a while, invite someone who you're not familiar with and go for a lunch, and you might be surprised of what
Yeah.
I can help you.
I think I'm more loose tie. What are you,
I'm not
Colleen?
asking you to
Are
spend
you
all
loose
of your
tie or
weekend on
All of it,
familiar?
networking,
right?
but
I mean,
once in a
I'm the
while,
person who talks to everybody.
Yeah.
And then
I
right.
like loose.
So
I like the loose
like the
tie
loose ties.
conversations
I
way
always think the
better.
second and third level connections, right? The people who
Yeah.
I know introduce me to someone, and I'm happy to go on forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has
Yeah.
been fantastic, Anya. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We always love to end with some like quick kind of rapid fire lightning round kind of questions for folks. So I would like to ask you, we'll go through a few of these here. What are you currently streaming on TV these days?
Streaming. What am I streaming?
What are you watching? Yeah. Are you
Oh, what?
watching like on like Netflix
I'm
or
Korean
yeah.
drama. Those stupid one that without need any brands. Totally dumb things. But I'm also
Right.
watching Castle, which is an old show for
Yes.
detective.
Oh, that was a good show.
I like
Yeah.
it more.
Excellent.
I
All
think I
right.
watched that.
So what do you think is scarier, networking or negotiating?
Negotiating. But never you get to know people. How can I help you? You get to help people. Negotiating is hard too, but keep in mind like the two girls want the orange, one may want the orange meat for the juice, the other one may want the orange skin for baking. So you never know. So don't focus on what you want, focus on why you want that thing.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I've never heard that analogy with the orange. I love it. That's perfect. Okay. And what's a book recommendation you have? Like, what's a book, either fiction or nonfiction, that you've loved reading?
I'm a little bit boring, but I do have a book, Get to Aha, which is wrote by Andy Collingham. She was a person who did positioning for Apple, so the book is really
Nice.
good about branding positionings, and so check it out. How do you build your brand? Like Amazon is the world's most customer centric company. Disney is the happiest place on earth. One simple thing help people remember you to think about your positioning.
Oh, I love that. I haven't read that. Many times people recommend things I've heard of. That's a new one for me.
Or
So
me too.
thank you so much, Anya, for being with us today. If our listeners want to find you, we'll definitely link to Trader in our, I'm sorry, Taelor. Oh my God, I can't believe I called it Trader. Taelor. We will link to Taelor in the show notes. But where else can they find you?
Yeah, so check out a company Taelor, Taelor.style. So you never need to wash the clothes again or doing laundry. And people, we have human stylists with AI to pick perfect outfits. And
Love it.
also the best thing is that you can try on new style, feel ready for your day, and support the sustainability. So use a code podcast25, podcast25, PODCAST25 to get 25% off first month. Father's Day is around the corner, so get
Oh,
the
tip.
first gift, Father's Day gift, and the best gift is time and the style.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank
Oh
you
my
so
gosh.
much.
That's a
That's
first for us. I
so
love it.
exciting. This has been fantastic. So, if today's conversation sparked something for you, an idea, a question, a little nudge, try something new, we'd love to hear about it. Drop us a
Yeah.
message on Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok, right? Because that is what Embrace the Squiggle is all about, showing up for the messy, nonlinear parts of our careers and figuring it all out together. This episode has been brought to you by Maxity, where we are reshaping how individuals and businesses thrive using their strengths to achieve their highest goals through training and executive coaching. Thank you again, Anya, for being our guest today. This was fantastic, and can't wait to kind of continue these conversations in the future. Thanks again.
Is it
Time for you to add a little squiggle to your career? Join us every week to hear from another guest talk about how they embrace the squiggle.
Subscribe now and find your inspiration.